Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be kind of doing a little bit of a debate with myself. No, but that's how it feels in my head. But I'm going to be doing physical book versus Kindle. And I know this is, I don't know, so controversial. But I think this is just the Kindle Paperwhite. And it's not anything fancy. I did get the version that doesn't have ads. I'm sorry, I'm not dealing with that. I can't believe that's even an option. Like, why is that an option? But yeah, I just kind of the straightforward, it has a lot of memory space, Kindle Paperwhite. No, there's really not like a lot of extra features in this. You can access the store on here. I don't do that because it doesn't work very well. So I just kind of do the one click on my phone, comes to here, then I'm able to just read on it. The pictures aren't colored or anything like that. This isn't also the version that you can write on. I do find it pretty simple to kind of just go through the books that I have. You can categorize them into collections or anything like that if you want. I do have some, because there's a lot of books by certain, let's say Sanderson. I have a lot of Sanderson books, and they're a variety, so, there's different series. So I actually created a folder with Brandon Sanderson, so I can easily access them. The only problem is with the collections, they look just like a folder. You don't really get the cover pictures, which I do like the cover pictures. Otherwise, they do just group them all together in a series. This does that anyway. So like Grace of Kings, if I go in there, I get all 4 books there. And then it does keep what you are reading up at the top, which is nice. So you don't have to search through alphabetically or anything like that. So yeah, I just have the straightforward, nothing fancy. And then I'm going to do versus physical books. So this is just such a hard topic. If you would have asked me this 2 years ago, I'd have been like, oh, physical books all the way, no question. Actually, at one point, I had gotten the Kindle, I'd ordered it, and I was so torn about whether I wanted to switch to a Kindle that I returned it. And I was like, I can't do this. I can only go with physical. I returned it. And then probably a couple of months later, I bought it again. And I haven't gone back since. And I love it. I am probably leaning more towards the Kindle side now. I know, it's just crazy. I would never have guessed that. But I still love my physical books. The problem is I haven't read the physical book itself in probably a while. There are still some books that I do, especially my classical books and my history books. I don't really have a lot of those on the Kindle. And that's just, the thing is though, is I really do want to still own the books. The main reason being is once you have this physical copy, it cannot be taken away from you or changed. And where you do have something online, there's always that risk of, let's say, 50 years from now, this device no longer exists, Amazon is all torn up or something, I don't know, who knows, and you've lost everything. And the biggest example I have of that is Google Music. I lost all of my music when Google decided, on the Android phone, the Google Play, whatever music, I lost everything. And it was all those songs I bought, gone. And so it's it can be taken away from you. They act like, oh no, you own it. No, you don't. You don't own it. But your physical book, you do own. They can't just come over here and grab it from me. Well, they could, but I'd sue them. So they can't do that. But they might try. I don't know. That's theft. But apparently it's not theft if it's on the internet. I don't know. Whatever. Don't get me started. Well, I'm already started. But yeah, and plus, where there's all these sensitivity readers and everything out like that, changing books, that really scares me, especially online, because I'm not going to know. Whereas with this physical book, now that it's in my hand, it cannot be changed. Whereas if it's on my Kindle, who knows what I'm getting. If they do some type of update and a different version, it could be completely different and I wouldn't know it. So those are just some of the risks and that I kind of, go through. And I that's why I do really like to make sure I have the physical, especially for books that I do like, I want to keep, I'm going to reread. So that's the other good part too, is where I have the Kindle, I can buy the books really cheap. Especially if I get Kindle sales, I might get them for maybe 99 cents to $2.99. And I can get them a lot cheaper, especially where prices have gone up a lot with books. I used to be able to buy books for like $10. Now the minimum is at least $20. Sometimes $30 or $40 if you get hardback, and it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm not going to do that. And the most you could usually spend on a Kindle, if you're going full price, is probably $15. Usually they're $9.99, but $15 is pretty high. I try to wait for it to go down just because I'm like, that's kind of ridiculous. I might as well buy a paperback. But just books in general have gotten really expensive, so the Kindle is helping kind of alleviate that cost there. But if it is a book that I do like, I'm more intentional about it, and I want to own it. I do want to have the physical copy, and I add it to the library because no one can take it and no one can change it. So that's kind of how my process is going. But when I first went through whether I wanted the Kindle or not, I was just so upset to think that it was hard to know, like, am I going to be reading the physical? Am I going to be reading the online? Because there is an experience that you get by reading the physical book. I mean, you can flip through it. You can smell the pages, especially if it's just off the printing press. You know, it just has this comforting feel to it. You can see how far you are. I mean, you're almost done. You can, like, just admire the cover of it. You know, all those fun features of just reading the physical book. And you don't get that with the Kindle. But with the Kindle, I can take this anywhere with me. I can, just stick it in my purse or I do have one jacket where it fits in the pocket. I wear that jacket a lot. And I know it fits in that pocket, so I take it with me everywhere. It's pretty discreet, like if you're just on, in the car or something, you just open it up, start reading, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about the pages getting bent on you. You don't have to worry, also too, it always seemed like people know exactly what you're reading, whereas with this, you don't really get those questions as much. I remember one time, so I was in school, and I was in law school. Okay, so people expect you to just be reading, apparently, just only law books. Well, I was taking a break between classes, and I was just sitting here, and I was actually reading Wheel of Time at the time, too. I've been reading the series forever, it feels like. But anyways, I was reading it, and there was apparently some type of, administration just walking through the building. I think they were showing, like, the principal of the school, like the actual university around the law building. And they, like, walked past me, and they were like, ooh, what are you reading? I was like, oh, I'm reading Wheel of Time. And I got the most, like, snobby, condescending looks from everyone. Like, oh, like, you're reading fantasy? Like, I'm taking a break, guys. Like, come on. Like, I was so upset by that. And it's like, I just needed, 10-minute refresh of not dealing with, complicated legal questions for once. But I got judged so hard by that. Whereas behind me, you had a bunch of people playing video games, but whatever. That's besides the point. But with the Kindle, I feel like you don't really have that risk as much. And I wish I would have had it then, because then I maybe wouldn't have been judged so hard. I don't know. But that stuck with me, apparently. But yeah, so there's risks. There's not risks, but there's pros, there's cons of both. I will say, though, too, with the Kindle, it's very easy to hold. You can change the font size. You can make it bigger. You can change the lighting in the back. You can get certain cases. Like, I like this case because it has this where it comes out, which I love because sometimes if I'm just sitting at the table, I can just, prop this up and it's good to go. I do like that. Whereas the books themselves are not too easy to hold. I brought two examples with me. The main one is the Wheel of Time books. So I have the smaller ones. These are very difficult to hold. And after a while, I would get like an indent in my hand just because it's like, I don't like to have my binding broken. So I try really hard to like hold it like this. And it's like, I'm like scrunching in these pages back here. So like I have to kind of slightly open it and it gets difficult after a while. So I tend to not read as long because it starts to hurt after a while. The other book that hurt was this one. There is no easy way to read this one. I did read this in its physical form because I didn't have the Kindle when I had this one. And it just, so like if you lay it down like this on a table, after a while your neck starts to hurt because you're just leaning over. And you can't hold it up because it's just like it starts to hurt your hands after a while because it's really heavy. It's kind of flimsy. I didn't have fun reading this for multiple reasons, but for its physical format, it wasn't very easy to hold or anything like that. So like, it's nice with the Kindle, you don't know how big the books are. Everything's the same size. It's just this little tiny thing that you just gotta hold and you're good to go. Whereas it might be, a 2,000 page book, you wouldn't know that. So that's what's nice, is you always have it, easy to hold, and it doesn't change. You don't have to worry about breaking any bindings or anything like that, or pages folding or whatever. The other cool feature, though, is because you can't really tell how far you are because it's not a physical book, the ebook will tell you a percentage, like you're 80% of the way through the book. Or I do the percentage, and I also have on there too where it'll tell me how long it anticipates it'll take me before I finish the book. So it'll be like, you have 2 hours left of the book. You have 20 minutes left of the book. So that's kind of nice. I kind of like seeing it that way. But that's kind of a cool feature because I never really realized how many hours I might spend on a book. And apparently with the Dandelion Dynasty, each book almost takes me like 20 hours, apparently. Those are long books. So sometimes you might not want to know how long it is because it's kind of like a little overwhelming there. But so that's a cool feature. But the really big negative with the Kindle is you can't flip through, and that's frustrating, especially with fantasy books, because most fantasy books you get a map in there. Of course, I'm going to pick like the One Wheel Time book. Okay, good. There is a map. So like, there's a map in here, which is great. You can't just flip back and forth in the Kindle to find that. Also, if there's some type of index or anything like that of names and whatever, you cannot flip through back and forth. Another type of instance is, I think I noticed this in the Emily Wilde's encyclopedia book, is there was like little footnotes on the bottom, but they were more put into the back of the book, so I couldn't flip through. So I just saw the little asterisk and it was like, oh well, I guess once the book's over I'll look at them. But so you can't really flip back and forth very easily. Sometimes you can through the chapters, but I don't like to do that because I don't want to lose my place somehow. So it's just not very easy to do that. So that's kind of a frustrating point. But a good point is I'm not flipping through to the back of the book, because if I have the physical book, sometimes I'll get so like caught up with reading and so stressed out about it. I'm like, I just have to know how this ends. And so I'll try to like glance at the back real quick, discreetly, and spoil it for myself. But I can't do that on the Kindle. So you get kind of a different reading experience because you have to, follow the pages. Whereas with a physical book, you might be able to flip through and get some answers right away to some things. But yeah, so those are just some of the positives and negatives. I don't know which one is. I don't think either one's technically better than the other. I don't, because I love both. I mean, I like the ebook. I like the physical book. They both have, pros and cons, but I would never just only, say, oh, you only ever need the Kindle. I don't agree with that, because there's so many fun parts about reading the physical book that I love it. I do. And I also think it's important to own them as well, so you don't have that risk of losing it or having it edited or anything like that. And also if you want to loan them out, if you want to loan them to a friend or something, because you can't really loan Kindle books. So if you want to share books with a friend, you need the physical, unless they want to spend the money to buy it on the Kindle. But yeah, so it's just, I don't know. It took me a while to, jump on the Kindle bandwagon, you could say. And it wasn't an easy decision for me to make. But I've gotten to the point where I'm almost exclusively reading on the Kindle. Like I said, there's still some of those books where I do read on the physical, but it's hard. But yeah, I love the convenience of it. I can just open it up and it's right there, and it's easy to hold, easy to take with you, because I'm moving around a lot. I'm going to a lot of places, like with work or whatever, and I can just take it with me. Super easy. But yeah, so that's a really big convenience, especially if you have doctor's appointments or something like that. This is so easy to bring with you. because you might be waiting, 5 minutes or 2 hours. You never know. But yeah, so that's what makes it so good, whereas I don't have to worry about this getting all beat up or people judging me for what I'm reading. So that's kind of nice. But like, even though this is small, it's still really thick, so it takes up a lot of room. It's heavy. This is pretty light. It's pretty easy to hold. It travels well. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are like, physical only. You can only ever read physical. Which, that was me, and I agree, I do think if you're going to read something, at least do the physical, stick with that. But then there's also, people are going to be like, oh, well, you need to get a different Kindle, or I like this, e-reader. I'm not particular if it's a certain e-reader. I'm just telling you the one I have and the experience I have. I'm sure there's other great ones out there. That's fine. But yeah, so I don't know. It's such a controversial thing, but I like both. I do. But if my ease of reading is done on a Kindle. So yeah, if you have any type of opinions yourself, feel free to let me know. I just thought it might be kind of fun to just kind of have this conversation, because I've seen other people have it, and I don't always agree with them. Because I think both have their places, and I think both are great. But I also really do like the Kindle. And I see a lot of people that are just like, oh, no Kindle, hate Kindle, no e-readers, physical book only. I don't agree with that. I think the Kindle has its place, and I think it's been able to help a lot of people read more than they would have otherwise, especially when it comes to your eyes and eye sensitivity, and you can, enlarge the fonts, you can make it lighter or darker, and I think that's really made it more accessible to a lot of people, which is great. And I think it's also been able to up the speed for people reading, and it can be more affordable in the books that you get, which is also another, positive feature as well. So there's a lot of, good things that e-readers have been able to do for people to be able to help them to read. But the physical book is obviously going to have its place, and it's going to be the epitome of book reading anyways. But just kind of interesting, and I thought it might be kind of fun to talk about it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching, and yeah, I just hope you had fun. Thanks for watching.